Over 128,000 Americans are hospitalized each year due to foodborne disease. Tens of thousands more are gradually poisoned by hidden chemicals, and innumerable elderly people suffer fatal strokes or cancers because of what they believe to be safe food. Disease, poisons, and betrayal are the triple bombshells that are already present in our kitchens. And the scariest aspect? The foods that working families, retirees, and those on limited incomes rely on the most are frequently the ones that are most at risk. The public watches helplessly as corporations hide behind lobbyists, labels, and legal loopholes. Why are American seniors still ingesting it if Europe has banned it? Why are stores still selling it if lab tests shout warning? In the name of convenience, how many more lives will be lost to gambling? The truth becomes personal in this edition of the Downturn Report. Today, we reveal 7 hazardous foods that America needs to immediately recall and eliminate. 1. Tyson Nuggets are served in freezers like convenience awards. They gleam in ads as the flavor of family, and they snap with a golden crunch. From nursing homes to cafeterias, Tyson chicken nuggets are a common sight, offering comfort at $5 a bag. However, you're not biting into an innocent snack when you remove that crispy coating. But before we go right in, if you're worried about your health, click the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this is where we share the facts that no one talks about. And if you're with me, please let me know. In the comment field, put 1 if you're currently viewing and this video speaks to you. Type 0 otherwise. You are unaware of the significance of your voice. One of the most repulsive food scandals in America is being chewed through by you. Corporate negligence, workplace dirt, and child labor all masqueraded as food. By 2023, the U.S. over 100 juvenile employees, some of whom were just 13 years old, were exposed by the Department of Labor cleaning blood-stained death floors at midnight while attached to Tyson-linked plants. Numerous migrants were forced into jobs so hazardous that even seasoned adults feared them, denied an education, and trafficked through dubious subcontractors. Until whistleblowers released images of kids wearing hard hats cleaning the identical machines that manufactured your nuggets, Tyson denied any involvement. Isn't it disgusting that the food that children consume the following day is what they were made to clean at night? It is exacerbated by the pollution crisis. 9 Tyson plants failed inspections for fecal matter, salmonella, and even metal shards, according to 2024 Freedom of Information petitions. More than 400,000 pounds of nuggets tainted with grease, bone splinters, and plastic fragments were recalled in Arkansas, but they were still marketed as kid-friendly. In 6 states, 74 persons suffered food poisoning during that same period. 3 elderly assisted living residents were on the verge of passing away. What constitutes treachery if this has been trusted since 1935? Families continue to make purchases, nevertheless. Why? Since Tyson is everywhere, they control almost every grocery freezer aisle, prisons, hospital kitchens, and school meal programs. Tyson is frequently the only meat under $5 for elderly on Social Security or working-class parents on SNAP. No one asks whether the nugget went through a factory line soiled by sewage when the refrigerator is empty and the bills are piling high. They simply hope they won't have to go to the emergency room. Now, Tyson boasts about his reforms. They made a bold, zero-tolerance commitment against child labor in 2025. However, by the middle of the year, just 1 contractor had been suspended and no executives had been charged with crimes. The shipments continue to arrive, even though USDA still considers Tyson plants to be high risk. Are the fingerprints of a 14-year-old Guatemalan refugee truly removed from the conveyor belt by a new slogan? The future? Maybe abused children will be replaced by robots, or perhaps traffickers will become more adept in concealing them. In order to avoid being followed by cameras, Tyson might decide to move additional production offshore, or perhaps this cycle of brutality will end if consumers and whistleblowers continue to stand their ground. There are other options for people who wish to leave. Purdue's Harvestland line has maintained a better safety record, while Applegate Naturals provides antibiotic-free nuggets with complete traceability. Better yet, create your own. thighs of pasture-bird chicken, panko, a skillet. It doesn't have the taint of corporate scandal and eventually costs less. However, the most difficult question still stands. If we continue to feed our kids food prepared by other people's kids in inappropriate conditions for even animals, what does that say about America? 2. Imported tilapia. What if the white fillet on your plate is a slab of flesh that has been fattened in sewage ponds, cleaned with chemicals, and then shrink-wrapped for American freezers, instead of being the clean protein you envision? Imported tilapia, primarily from China and Vietnam, has been marketed as an affordable option for the underprivileged. However, the deal conceals a bill that is marked with sickness and death. Families purchase it because it guarantees healthful fish, is inexpensive, and is boneless. However, the production method that goes into making each frozen $2 dinner is tainted with human waste, antibiotics that are prohibited in the United States, and blatant fraud that would make a casino appear legitimate. Nearly 4 out of 10 tilapia imports from Southeast Asia included traces of fluoroquinolones, antibiotics prohibited in aquaculture for feeding drug-resistant superbugs, according to data from the Food and Drug Administration. According to a 2023 Bloomberg and US PERG investigation, Vietnamese ponds continue to contain malachite green, which has been prohibited for more than a decade due to its carcinogenic properties. Even worse, although it is permitted in some areas of the Mekong Delta, fish are raised directly in sewage water. Consider ingesting a fillet that may have been last fed toilet runoff. Is that malice disguised as something else, or does it still sound like the poor man's protein? Furthermore, the effect isn't hypothetical. 118 Americans contracted Vibrio infections in 2024 as a result of imported tilapia that had been mislabeled. Kidney failure sent 3 elderly Floridians to the hospital. However, a senior meal program's pan-fried tilapia caused the death of an immunocompromised Texan. Consider that. Instead of nursing the weak, a fish dispatched them to the mortuary. However, most patients are unaware of which pond poisoned them because these imports are repackaged under generic supermarket labels. When even the title is false, how can a fixed-income retiree defend themselves? People continue to purchase it, though, because you don't walk past a $3 bag of fish when your Social Security check barely covers your rent. Even though you know it might be dirty, you take it up, sigh, and fry. This is the trap, right? While wealthier households select for local cod or traceable salmon, the system forces the poorest Americans to accept tainted food as their sole choice. The currents are getting stranger now. Following internal investigations that revealed fraud and country of origin labels, Costco and Kroger discreetly reduced their purchases of Chinese and Vietnamese tilapia in 2025. That begs serious questions. Have we already consumed a safer bulk of fish? How many more bags in the freezer aisle are mislabeled? A distributor is prepared to ambush another family 50 minutes later. In order to sanitize and prolong shelf life, importers are using deep washing methods, bleaching, and carbon monoxide gassing. Although scientists warn of unknown long-term effects on immunity and digestion, regulators do not declare it illegal. Will this be the scandal of the future, or will lobbyists continue to persuade Congress that foreign trade is more important than the health of Americans? Not only are consumers cornered, but corporations are as well. The extremely inexpensive fish they depend on might crumble under their own filth if scandals continue to surface. What does that leave us with then? Trapped in a situation where firms and customers alike run the risk of losing. Lifeboats are available for families who wish to escape the trap. Barramundi raised in the United States are superior fish that are certified antibiotic-free. Sitka salmon shares wild Pacific cod, which can be tracked all the way to the boat. Alternatively, mojara, which is frequently produced from cleaner Central American farms, is sold fresh in Hispanic markets like Cardenas. They are more expensive, but how much does a funeral or hospital stay actually cost for a $2 fish? The more incisive inquiries now pierce through. Before we acknowledge that inexpensive tilapia is a public health catastrophe, how many more Americans need to end up in emergency rooms? Who makes the decision that some neighborhoods receive clean fillets while working-class neighborhoods receive fish-fed sewage? And how much garbage will be dressed up as food tomorrow if we don't demand answers now? 3. Lunchables. What if your child's knapsack has a slow-acting weapon neatly placed inside a shiny plastic tray instead of lunch? Lunchables have long been marketed as the quick and easy meal. You're a nice parent if you purchase this product because of its bright packaging, happy characters, and subliminal ads. That small package seems like an easy fix for a major issue for working families that are juggling medical co-pays, bills, and an empty refrigerator. However, there are usually conditions associated to such inexpensive responses. Strings that are directly linked to long-term health issues in hospitals. What about the cruel part? Despite being aware that these trays are unhealthy, many parents feel compelled to purchase them. That must be the most agonizing betrayal. When you are aware that you are in danger, but are unable to escape the system. The findings of the 2024 study by the Environmental Working Group should make every parent sick to their stomach. Each tray contains around 1,000 milligrams of salt and sodium nitrite, the same substance that has been designated a Group 1 carcinogen by the World Health Organization. Even traces of phthalates, which are chemicals intended to soften plastic and are now finding their way into children's food and disrupting hormones, were found in some children. Think about purchasing your child's lunch and unintentionally giving them the same pollutants that are present in industrial trash. Is that still considered kid-friendly? The pain is more intense. These kits have been certified by USDA for use in public school lunches in more than 4,800 districts, many of which are located in low-income areas. In America, these kinds of items are distributed like candy, while in Europe, they have been prohibited from schools for years. For what reason are we regarded as second-class citizens? Why do wealthy children always escape the cheapest poison, but the poor are usually offered it? It resembles a covert class conflict being fought in cafeterias more than it does food policy. Parents make justifications to themselves even when they know it's bad. Just this one time, it's only $1. However, this once becomes into weekly, then annual, until doctors find fatty liver in a child who has never even tasted alcohol or hypertension in an 11-year-old. A tidal wave of childhood obesity and chronic illness is being warned about by pediatricians. However, who pays attention? Businesses don't, since they benefit from the cycle. Lobbyists purchase politicians' silence so they don't. The rest of us, working people, retirees, and seniors, are left holding receipts that also serve as medical bills. Even worse, in 2025, Kraft Heinz acknowledged in internal documents that they make lower sodium, safer Lunchables for the European market. They don't bother here. Why? Because average families are powerless to oppose lobbyists who dominate policy. Knowing that your child's health is less valuable than that of a child in Europe is horrible, isn't it? And it may even be bearable if the treachery stopped there. However, experts believe the business is getting ready to sell nursing homes on its easy-to-chew Lunchables. Your children will be prepared to give you pured versions of the same preservatives after years of consuming them. Do you think that's a joke? Or is it the last insult after a lifetime of being viewed as expendable? It will be simple to sketch the future if this pattern persists. More. Children will get sick long before they are adults. Seniors will consume food that hastens rather than slows their demise. After decades of harm, class action lawsuits might finally surface. Then, how much will it cost? Stolen from families that never requested any of this in lives, money, and dignity. However, there is a way out of this dilemma, one tray at a time. Instead of purchasing slow poison, consider creating your own lunch pack. Whole Foods has inexpensive organic turkey starting at $3.65, late July multi-grain crackers, Aldi's crisp carrots. Bulk purchases result in lower costs and higher healthcare bill savings. Another choice are the plant-based kits from Mighty Yum. Convenience need not equate to corruption. Isn't that the agonizing turn of events? Although it is conceivable, the healthier route is obscured by political intrigue and marketing hype. The question now becomes relevant. What does it say about a company's lack of regard for American families if it proudly offers safer food overseas while purposefully dumping dangerous versions on us? And how long will we allow them to continue? 4. Quaker Oats. You anticipate treachery from cheap meat or oily fast food, but from oatmeal. The smiling Quaker guy marketed that steaming bowl of comfort as nutritious, heart-healthy, and grandfather-approved. Finding out that the marketing is actually a formula for illness rather than wellness is like receiving a kick to the belly. Millions of people have relied on it as a safe way to start the day, but it has subtly turned into a chemical pipeline that is more appropriate for weed killer than breakfast. Glyphosate, the notorious component of Monsanto's Roundup, was found in 21 out of 28 oat-based products in independent tests ordered by the Environmental Working Group, with Quaker leading the pack. Scientists warn that some samples had levels above 400 parts per billion, which is dangerous for young people. There were signs of chemical drift even in organic mixtures. Consider it. Your granola bars, porridge, and even those kid-friendly fast pouches contain residues of the same chemical linked to cancer lawsuits. Is this just Roundup with raisins, or is it actually breakfast? You can already see the toll. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma has been connected in innumerable instances to glyphosate exposure. Although Quaker's owner, PepsiCo, maintains that its goods are within the law, buyer Monsanto's parent has paid more than $11 billion in settlements. However, let the parents who feed this to their toddlers every morning or the elderly who are fighting decreased immunity know that safe does not equate to legal. In the past, arsenic was also used legally. Additionally, every bite is practically coated in pesticide dust because oats are sprayed a few days prior to harvest in order to dry them rapidly. 6 Illinois families sued Quaker in a class action lawsuit in 2024, alleging that their children's inflammatory digestive tracts were caused by their frequent oatmeal consumption. According to court documents, Quaker employees referred to glyphosate levels as problematic in internal correspondence dating back to 2019. Fearing greater expenses, the corporation decided to remain silent rather than change supply chains. When your breakfast is foregone in order to boost their profits, what does it say about business ethics? However, because individuals continue to purchase, the betrayal is more profound. Why? Because it's inexpensive, well-known, and has been a fixture in American kitchens for many years. Quaker seems like a safe default for families looking for a healthy lunch or retirees watching their money. It's risky for that same reason. The weak people's trust became a weapon against them. The future? Quaker may be sourcing more oats from Canada and Argentina, where glyphosate usage is still widespread, according to watchdogs. Is America going to import contamination under packed stamped labels in the USA as a result of PepsiCo's growing international partnerships? Will the poison be pushed overseas by stricter U.S. regulations and then bounce back into our bowls? How many more kids, cancer patients, and elderly people will suffer as a result, if at all? There are other options. However, you need to look past the marketing haze. Glyphosate-free sprouted oats are certified to be 1 degree organic. Thorough third-party testing is performed on Nature's Path steel-cut oats. Additionally, Bob's Red Mill bulk oats allow for natural flavoring without the need of artificial sugar dust. These are not extravagances. They serve as defenses against a system that passes off peril as regular sustenance. A more difficult question is thus raised by the steam rising from that dish. What more is being concealed from us under the guise of trust if Quaker will provide oats laced with pesticides and conceal it under technicalities? 5. Crystal Light appears to be a package of wellness, gentle hues, no added sugar, and a name that exudes innocence. Crystal Light, which promises sweetness without guilt, has been the preferred soda substitute for many elderly Americans. However, a darker weight is concealed by that pastel powder. Heavy metals and artificial sweeteners subtly change hydration into danger. Aspartame is in the middle. Although the FDA continues to approve it, the World Health Organization classified it as potentially carcinogenic in 2023 after connecting it to metabolic abnormalities, liver damage, and brain disruption. The problems don't end there. In 2024, a consumer test discovered cadmium and lead in common flavors including raspberry ice and lemonade, metals linked to increased cancer risk, memory loss, and kidney failure. That isn't refreshment for elderly people who are already struggling with poor health. From the inside out, it is erosion. The most terrifying aspect? Numerous tainted samples were taken directly off the shelves of dollar stores, the same aisles where fixed-income retirees shop. Consistent exposure to cadmium from drink mixes may increase the risk of stroke by more than 25% in persons over 60, according to a former FDA toxicologist. Imagine drinking lemon water while subtly giving your brain and kidneys a time bomb, all the while thinking you're saving your heart. Why do millions of people still purchase it? Because calorie trackers, diabetics, and women over 50 are the target audiences for Crystal Light, the most vulnerable group in particular. Despite mounting petitions and an increase in health complaints, PepsiCo dismisses worries, claiming that their powders adhere to the law. Legal does not equate to safety, especially when thousands of people consume several servings daily. Try handmade iced tea with mint or rooibos, hint water with natural fruit essence, or true lemon with real citrus if you're looking to unwind without the use of metals or other trickery. However, the most difficult question still stands. How many sips have already caused your health to deteriorate, and how many more till the glass breaks at last? 6. It bubbles in Stouffer's lasagna. It turns brown. It is consoling. The frozen lasagna from Stauffer has been marketed as a tray hug for working Americans. However, the reality that lies beneath the sentimental red box would make anyone lose their appetite. Because, like the dish itself, this isn't simply pasta and cheese, it's chemicals, exploitation, and corporate dishonesty. The Food Integrity Project discovered ethylene oxide residues in Stouffer's pork lasagna in 2024. The EPA classifies the substance as a Group 1 carcinogen. It's not for your dinner plate, it's for sterilizing packaging. Tests, however, revealed contamination in several batches, particularly those kept in bulk freezers. Every forkful turns into another silent dose over the course of months and years, connected to cognitive deterioration, lymphoma, and breast cancer. Who knows that their go-to comfort food could also be slow poison? There's also the meat. Stauffer's suppliers have come under fire for using jail labor, falsified inspection documents, and unclean conditions. Whistleblowers disclosed in early 2025 that prisoners were made to labor in 35-degree refrigerated factories, where some of them suffered from respiratory ailments and frostbite. Nevertheless, that steak found its way into your freezer, hidden beneath the mozzarella. Should the stink of corruption and the fingerprints of unpaid laborers truly be present at a family meal? But consumers continue to purchase. Why? Due to the fact that it is inexpensive, frequently less than $4. Stauffer's seems like a comfort to single parents balancing shifts or elders straining Social Security. No one inquires as to whether the cheese was mixed with binders derived from petroleum. All they need is food to sustain everyone. And Stauffer's parent company, Nestlé, is aware of it. How did they react? A neat line. Every ingredient complies with safety regulations. Leaked audits, meantime, revealed that even after being cooked through, beef contaminated with feces and listeria was still being distributed. To put it simply, they sent out tainted meat after heating it. The future might be worse. Lab-grown protein isolates are used to make meat extenders that are less expensive, according to Nestlé patent filings. Will there be fillers on the next lasagna tray that aren't even mentioned on the box? Will customers become aware of the reswatre before it's too late, or will they wait until fresh outbreaks of illness raise concerns? There are other options. Michelangelo's frozen lasagna stays away from dubious sources and preservatives. You can take charge or eat Amy's Kitchen organic lasagna, which is vegetarian and non-GMO. For a healthier and more ethical homemade platter, use ButcherBox's pasture-raised beef, whole wheat noodles, and Rao's pasta sauce. However, there is a bitter aftertaste from the last bite. What comfort remains that hasn't been sold off if even our comfort food is based on prison labor and carcinogens? 7. Truvia sweetener. It smiles with the term natural as it rests in tidy green packages, whispering to calorie counters, diabetics, and older Americans, "I'm safe." Truvia's sweetness, however, is a facade. What appears to be a leaf-based miracle is actually a concoction of sugar alcohols that have been processed in a lab in marketing jargon, posing as purity to hide danger. The catch is this: Truvia hardly qualifies as stevia. Erythritol, a sugar alcohol developed from genetically modified corn using chemical solvents like methanol, makes up the majority of it. High erythritol levels quadrupled the risk of heart attacks and strokes and blood clots, according to a 2023 Cleveland Clinic study involving almost 4,000 adults. It disrupts circulation and platelets and remains in the blood for days in older adults. How many guilt-free coffee cups does it take for that invisible accumulation to topple over into disaster? There is no safe daily limit established by the FDA. Rather, Truvia uses the GRAS loophole, which is widely accepted as safe, therefore no further testing is necessary. Dietitians had already complained by 2024 when elderly individuals who used it regularly experienced headaches, arrhythmias, and lightheadedness. Even after paying fines for misrepresenting the leaf emblem as natural, Cargill, the behemoth behind Truvia, continues to use it prominently. Natural in the same sense as synthetic flowers. It sells, though. $7 bottles of organic syrup are out of the question for seniors on restricted incomes, and because sugar is demonized, Truvia is inexpensive, easily obtainable, and appears to be a panacea. However, there is a trade-off in every packet. Less calories now, more dangers later. The future is also changing. The European Food Safety Authority started examining the cardiac risks associated with erythritol in 2025. Truvia might be banned or given warning labels elsewhere if European regulations are tightened. Lobbyists are already trying to defend it in the United States. Anticipate new blends that conceal the same hazards but are repackaged with greener packaging. What are the remaining options for customers caught between stroke fears and sugar spikes? Select safer substitutes. Pure stevia without sugar alcohols is called sweet leaf. Lecanto monk fruit extract that is insulin-friendly and minimally processed. Or, if you're not diabetic, a teaspoon of raw local honey, which boosts immunity. However, the harsh reality still exists. How much of our kitchen is already in plain sight if even sweetness can deceive us? We started this journey with the assumption that we were just discussing food, but we've discovered much more. It's about survival, trust, and the ruthless ways that corporations risk the health of regular Americans, ranging from kid-made nuggets to sweeteners that clog arteries and whisper purity. The pattern is the same, whether it's lasagna laced with prison labor or oatmeal dusted with pesticides. What ought to feed us has been transformed into a tool for financial gain. And it is the working class, not the rich or powerful, who bear the greatest cost. The retirees. Those who trust a label and stretch a dollar. How long will we continue to tolerate poison masquerading as solace? We must ask. How many more elderly people have to pass away? Before we demand change, how many more children must suffer? These dishes serve as warnings, lessons, and wake-up calls in addition to being meals. And you are a part of that decision as you watch this. Stand with us if you think the truth should never be concealed and that regular people should have better rights. Share these stories, subscribe to this channel, and together, let's make our voices heard, loud enough for no company to ignore. Now is the moment to take action. Many thanks for staying with us all the way through. To ensure you don't miss any daily uploads, please hit the like button and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Go ahead and watch some of our best suggested videos as they appear on your screen. I'll see you at the next one. Goodbye.